everyone. So this week's Carry Online online sling show, it came up in conversation on one of the live videos that there really isn't very much out there about different types of fibres, and sometimes when you're either choosing your first wrap or you want to try something different but you really don't want to spend a lot of money without knowing that something's going to be right for you, you can really search online for stuff about different types of fibres without coming across really detailed information. I've seen quite a few blog posts of how to choose your first woven wrap and maybe a very brief description of the types of fibres, but not really an in-depth comparison. So at the moment, I happen to have quite a lot of wraps here. I've got some on holiday, I've got some that are waiting to go onto a new home. So I just thought right now I could show you a comparison between most of the main fibre types. So we're going to start with cotton. Now, cotton is a really good place to start because it's easy care. You can chuck it in the washing machine, the dryer. It breaks in quite easily. It's soft and strong. I mean, there's a reason we have mostly cotton clothes, right? That it's a really all-purpose fibre. It's really strong. You can carry a toddler in a cotton wrap, and it's nice and soft for a newborn. Now, some people will say, oh, but you don't want just cotton, you want to blend when you get to toddler age. For me, I reckon if you tighten well and maybe use more than one pass over your toddler, for me, it's still comfortable. For me, I'll go to a cotton wrap over really any other, just because I just have one that I really like for toddlers. So I think some of the differences come in between brands rather than between the fibre when you're talking about cotton, and I think that can help to make your decision, because a lot of people start with cotton because it's nice and it's usually a cheaper option as well, but brands vary in price as well, so it is a consideration. So one I've got here is an Oscha all cotton Kasumi pattern. So I know it's not great on the camera, but you can see that it's got mostly all over pattern and it's quite a tight weave. So you have got lots of threads, warp and weft, but with very short floats between them. If you compare that to something from a different brand, like a Firespiral, you've got a pattern it is a repeating pattern, but it's got lots of blank spots, so different there. And then you've got much longer floats with a looser weave there. So very, very different, and they feel very different in hand. They're both about the same thickness, but this one feels a bit more moldable, whereas the Oscha feels a little more strong and supportive. So then even within a brand like Firespiral, you've got their alchemy weave that has the long floats and is quite airy and really nice and soft for a newborn, but as I say, this is my toddler wrap. And you've also got, they have more dense weave, a bit more like the Oscha weave, which is called, Elements weave, of course. And then they have this, which is their Synergy weave, which has a hidden warp and the two coloured wefts. So again, this feels probably more like the Oscha, a much tighter weave, but still quite movable, and it feels thicker. It feels thicker because it's got that hidden warp. So just cotton, you've got so much variety. And then I've mentioned pattern. I've mentioned an all-over pattern like the Oscha one. So you've got quite an even grip across the whole width and length of the wrap. You've got a repeating pattern, but not quite as not quite such small repeats. So you've got areas, these areas here are going to be a lot less grippy. And then you've got another all over pattern here. And again, this is going to be very, very nice, giving that a very nice grip. So patterns aren't going to move. So just in terms of cotton, you've got a huge amount of variety, and you find that the tighter weaves might be more supportive for a bigger child, and also might be less prone to pulls, whereas the looser weaves are going to be more airy and for me more supportive, because I find that they're more moldable, so I can get them exactly into place. But all that variety just in cotton. So then I want to go on to talk about linen. So there's a lot of people who are huge fans of linen. It is not my personal favourite fibre, but it has some massive fans out there because it's also really easy care, like cotton. You can put it in the washer, you can put it in the dryer. It will, in fact, it thrives on a bit of nice heat for breaking it in. It's really nice for the summer. You think about your own clothes in the summer, linen is really lovely and airy and light, and it sort of just reflects the light in a light colour and takes that heat away. So lovely for summer, very supportive, but it can feel quite crunchy and dry. If I bring this up here, this is an Oscha linen zigzag prototype, and you can see it's got a lovely colour and shine to the linen. It's 100% linen, this one, but you can see it folds rather than bends, and you can see this one, just because of how I've had it, and much like linen clothing, it's quite prone to creasing. You can see that there. I've had it all, I'm trying to break it in, so I've had it all plaited up, and those creases really do stay. But luckily, with a bit of use, those do tend to drop out. It can need a bit of breaking in, this one in particular. So I have 200% linen wraps to sort of show and compare for you, and they do feel, this is going to go way overexposed, but I'm going to try and show you. This is a linen Calin Bleu tester from a good long while ago, but if I show you, it's more of a gauze fabric. Hold that up to the light, you might be able to see. It's quite see-through. Yeah, it's a cotton gauze rather than like a jacquard weave. And again, quite crunchy, foldable, scrunchy. It will crease up instantly, but really light for summer. So I actually don't mind 100% linen for exactly that. But I just want to show you these two. So you've got the jacquard and you've got the gauze one, which is really difficult to see. Now, one of the nice things about linen is that it has all these natural nubs and slubs in it. I don't know if you can see that some threads are way thicker than others here. So it gets a lovely grip, a natural grip, and I think that's why it has so many fans. It really does just lock into place. It does act very differently between blends. So you've got those 100% linens, and then what I've got here, I've got a 20% linen blend, which to me feels very much like cotton. And what else have we got? Yeah, that's all we've got. I'm not a big fan. So I think also between brands, for example, even within a brand, you can have different kinds of linen. I know I've had some Firespiral linen blends, which have been very nubby and sloppy, very a beautiful shine to them, but almost feeling quite slippery and very crunchy. And then others where the nubs and slubs are sort of softened a little bit, and it's been a really nice moldable feel to it, despite having that strength of the linen. And hemp works in a fairly similar way. I only have one wrap that's got a bit of hemp in it. This is a Firespiral wrap, but I wouldn't say it's a good example of what a hemp wrap does, because this also has some wool in it, some lamb's wool in it. So you can see it's got lots of different coloured threads in that red side that make up that colour, and one of those is hemp, but it's only about a 17% hemp, I think. Yes, that's right. So it's there's a lot to its wrap qualities that the wool is doing for it. Now, onto one of my favourite fibres, and that's wool. I really like wool, but again, people love it, people hate it. So wool is obviously quite nice for winter. It's lovely and warm. Can also be okay in summer. It can really wick away the moisture. So it can be absolutely fine. Sorry, yeah, wick away the moisture and make you sort of less sweaty. It can feel quite airy in itself, depending on the blend, depending on the wrap. So not a complete no-no in summer. So, but certainly great if you live somewhere that's fairly cold or fairly dull, like England right now. Some people are put off because of the care of taking care of wool. So some brands, so Firespiral have an easy care wool. I think Oscha have a superwash wool. Other brands will say stick to a hand wash only for the wool. But it's not, do it in the bath. It's not too big of a job. And just don't wash it too often. One of the reasons I like wool is because it's got fabulous stretch and recoil. So when you're wrapping with it, this is a 100% wool wrap from Cariad Bach, a Welsh brand. And so all of this is wool, and you can just see from where my thumbs are, it's just got a lovely stretch in all directions. It's still a woven wrap, so it's still minimal stretch, but when I'm wrapping, I can almost tease out the stretch in the top rail and just get it really lovely and molded to me, to my baby. So I really enjoy that. And then by comparison, I've got here a 25% wool wrap, so a lot of the same properties, but with that cotton giving it some strength as well, strength and support, and perhaps slightly less bounciness than 100% wool. Again, this one's got a very limited pattern to it, so it's fairly grippy all over, but not massively grippy, which is quite nice because wool can be quite grippy just because of the fibres. If you think about sort of pulling on a woolen sweatshirt, then yeah, you can sort of get the idea of wool in a wrap. This is the woolly side with the paler red, but you've got the darker red cotton. So again, best of both worlds in a blend. You've got different kinds of wool. So you've got two main types of merino and cashmere. So cashmere can be a little bit more silky. I have got this wrap here, which is a Dahlia wrap, and it has got, I have to remind myself of this, yes, it's got 30% merino and 3% cashmere. It's also got some sparkle in it, if you can see that sparkle. Nice sparkle. So this, I mean, I think you can see, like you can just see in my hands, the stretch there. It's got a really good amount of stretch, and this has got an all over pattern, so it is very, very grippy, but it has also got that stretch. It feels quite thick, possibly because the wool fibres do tend to be a little bit thicker than cotton. But for me, really nice to use. So I would certainly say that linen and hemp to a certain extent and wool are probably opposite ends of the spectrum. So if you're thinking, okay, I've tried cotton, I know I really like wrapping, where do I go from here? Then maybe try a linen and try a wool blend and see which of those suits you better, and then at least you've got a good starting point there. And you've also got wool-wise, you've got other kinds of wool as well. So this one, this wrap has got some baby camel in it. So this has got silk and baby camel in it, in the weft. So very, very soft. Feels very silky, but with the woolen sort of fuzziness and warmth. I don't know if you can see sort of the fuzziness of the fibres there, but again, lovely amounts of stretch. So works very similarly to wool, but perhaps just feels a little bit more silky, but with all that bounce. So then silk is also really popular. Now there are numerous types of silk, and all of these silk fibres have different properties, and I'm going to link to a lovely little article that Linushka, a brand, have written on the different kinds of silk. But broadly, you've got tussar and wild silk, which are broadly the same thing. These are from wild silkworms. They've got lovely nubs and slubs within the silk, much like linen, just because of the nature of what the wild silkworms are eating. And can be really super soft, really nice for newborns, but also very strong. And because of the nubs and slubs, doesn't have that slipperiness that you'd associate with silk if you were thinking about it in clothing. You've also got Pret, or I can't pronounce this, tsumugi silk, which is basically leftover silk from another kind called mulberry. So mulberry is a very widely used silk. It's what we possibly think of as silk. It's quite silky feeling with that drape and that shine, and it's light and airy. And so the leftover bits are can be rewoven into Pret silk, more of a grade of silk than a type of silk. And this can feel very dry, very dry, like I was talking about with the linen, less crunchy, but very matte, really textured, very, very grippy. I've wrapped with a Pret silk wrap before, and yeah, just so much grip and very, very dry. You perhaps wouldn't want to hold it in your teeth. It might just when you're wrapping, it might just feel, yeah, just so dry. But really interesting if you're wanting extra grip in a wrap. And then you've got you might hear people talking about Japanese silk, and that's more to do with where the silk is made, because Japan is considered to have the finest silk. So it's more about the grade of silk rather than the actual type. It's just to say that it's a really fine silk. So silk can be really good because it can be very thin, very moldable. Then it can be a little bit slippy. It probably depends on the weave. You can get 100% silk ring slings, which are quite slippy, but again, nice in the summer perhaps, very light. It can be light. It can also be cushy. I've got here, this was my first proper wrap, and it's an Oscha one. And you can see, so the white side, that's the silk. So it's lovely and thin. You can you might be able to see that it does let the light through a little, but it's very, very strong, not a huge amount of stretch. It makes for a lovely thin, strong wrap. I'm trying to find some to show you, because there are some nubs and slubs. You can see there's some thicker strands, but yeah, fairly uniform. So that's wild silk. But yeah, really, really light wrap. But by contrast, I've had a Lanushka silk blend that was really, really cushy, really thick, really comfortable. Felt like wrapping with a really thick cotton, rather than what you'd think of as silk. So again, silk can be quite deceptive. So this is a 25% silk blend. And then I've got another, also 25% silk blend, but because of the weave pattern on this, you can see you've got these repeating diamonds. This is much, much more grippy and actually feels thicker in hand, even though it's got that lovely silky drape. So, but again, very airy. You can see the light through it. But really, really different feel, even though they are the same blend of cotton and silk. And I like them both. The other thing about silk is that it does tend to be hand wash only, but it's quite light and it dries quite fast, so it's really not something to be scared of. It's just, yeah, maybe not one you want to use whilst you're eating spaghetti bolognese, but it's not something to be scared of washing, just because if it gets a bit of baby sick or something on it, then it's, yeah, not a problem. Really not a problem. And also it's worth saying that with silk and with linen and hemp, the nubs and slubs are nothing to be afraid of. If you're receiving a new wrap and you think, oh, is this a fault? Is this a knot? No, it's just part of the beauty of it, and part of what you're getting is the qualities that brings with it. So then finally I want to talk about other fibres that you might come across. You've got the main ones I'd say would be viscose or tencel or bamboo. So you've got, let's see what we've got here. So we've got this Firespiral wrap with a lovely cotton blue on one side, and this white, this is made up of 16% viscose and 27% linen. So I find, so you can see it's really, really lined there. Hopefully you can see in the camera. It's got different textures and stuff on it. Lots of texture there, lots of grip on that side, contrasting with the very smooth cotton side. Now, I like viscose. It's a little bit bouncy, a little bit stretch. To me, it's like a little bit of wool, but yeah, you can see it's got less stretch than the wool wraps, much more supportive. So I really like a viscose linen blend, despite not being a massive linen fan. And then the same here with much lower percentage of both. This one has 9%, it's another Firespiral, 9% of viscose and 4% of linen, and this is on the blue side. So let's find a nice bit of blue. So you can see it's got like some lighter blue lines down it. Yeah, so you've got different fibre types in there. You've got the darker, you've got a cotton along with a viscose and a linen in that weft. So again, that means that you can have a lovely thin wrap that has got a little tiny bit of that stretch and bounce, which I quite like. So that might be an option if you don't particularly like wool. And then tencel is another fibre that is often used to make wraps really soft and really suitable for a newborn. So you've got this cotton pattern on this side, this lovely Oscha, and got this lighter side here. If we try and find an area that's quite blank, yeah. So you've got, oh, it almost shimmers in the light, doesn't it? So the tencel is really, really soft, a little bit slippy, breaks in really easily. So this one has got 14% linen and 26% tencel in it. So it has got the strength of linen, but it is much softer and slippier and slidier. Now, I would really like this for newborns and small babies, but if you tighten it well, there's nothing to stop you using it with a really big baby. So that's that. And then the other fibre that I wanted to mention is bamboo. I don't have any bamboo wraps currently. I have had two though, very different. I've had a Lenny Lamb with bamboo viscose, which was a lot like the tencel, very soft, really lovely and soft, really just felt just strokeable. People always talk about kitten belly soft wraps, and you know what, you get a brand new wrap straight out of the box, it's never going to be like a kitten's belly, no matter what anyone says. But a nice broken in bamboo viscose is very soft. But on the flip side, I did find it wasn't very moldable, it was quite slippy with a bigger kid, so that moved on eventually. So then the other one I had was an Oscha Starry Night wrap with bamboo, and that one, the bamboo was pure bamboo and it had a lot more grip, but I also found it absolutely fine for newborns. In fact, it was my favourite newborn wrap with my second child. I just really appreciated that it was supportive. I actually didn't need a lot of stretch with such a small baby. And then when I came to sell it, people asked me, are you sure you used it with a newborn? And I said, well, yeah, it's well broken in, it's lovely and soft. And I think bamboo can get a bad reputation for being a bit more like linen, being a bit crunchy, being a bit hard. But actually a really nicely well broken in pure bamboo, I find is actually fine. So what I'll do for those, I'm going to put a couple of pictures in the blog post as well, so you can sort of see what I'm on about. Now, I suppose also I should talk blends. So a lot of the time there'll be more complex blends that a brand will really try and take the best of everything and pop them all together. So once you've found what you like and thought about what qualities you like in a wrap, because words get thrown around all the time, like cushy, like supportive, and everyone will claim their wrap is absolutely everything. So yes, there is an element of trying a couple and then working out what's right for you, but then maybe venturing into the complex blends to find those, just those little bits of what works for you. So for example, the wrap I showed you earlier at the bottom of the pile, this one has some hemp in it and some wool in it. And for me, that gives me a good best of both. Or like this one with the linen and the viscose, good best of both sort of wrap. But I think the most important thing to say is find something you like the look of. If you think something is beautiful and it really suits your style, you'll be so much more motivated to make it work for you. Like the tencel one I showed you earlier, the peacock feathers, I just think this is gorgeous. I just love it. So even though it's thinner than my usual wraps, it's slippier than my usual wraps, just love it. So I'm motivated to use it, to break it in, to find carries that work for us with it, because I want to wear it. I like clothes, and to me a wrap is part of my outfit. It's not for everybody. For some people it is purely another piece of baby equipment, and that's fine too. But if you really want to motivate yourself, find something that you love, whether that's the feel of it, the look of it, and that will keep you on track. Anyway, I hope this has been a little bit useful for you. I will put all the names of the wraps that I've been through today and all their blends in the comments and in the blog post. And yeah, let me know if you find it helpful or if there's anything else you'd like to see, and I'll try and make it happen. So thank you very much for watching.